Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the post show at Connections. And we are joined today by Kathy.
Hello.
And by Andy.
Hello.
And by, what's your name again?
Layla. I'm just kidding. I almost had you.
That was a joke from before the show started.
Before we started recording.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, and Layla. And good to see each of you this morning. How are we doing today?
Very good.
Really good so far.
Sweet.
Great.
We just finished our service up, and we were remarking that Darren gave his very first sermon in a church service and did a remarkable job.
Yeah,
Sure
you did.
Very much so.
Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
He poured so much work into this. I can testify to how much work he put into it, and man, did it ever pay off today. So Darren, awesome job today. Very, very well done.
Yes, great job.
So let's go ahead and kind of unpack a little bit of what Darren had to say and just kind of figure some things out, okay, for ourselves. Darren talked about having a kingdom perspective. And as he was saying that, I was reminded that atheists don't believe there is a God, so they see God in nothing. Theists believe there is a God and see God in everything. But then there are deists. Deists believe God exists, but that he's uninvolved in human affairs, or at least he's largely uninvolved. So consequently, even though they believe in God, they don't see him in everything. And I fear sometimes that many Christians are actually more deist in the way they view their world. So here's my first question for you. What is God doing in our world? If we need to learn to see what God is doing in our world, what is he doing?
That's a real good question.
Thank you. It's easier to ask a question than answer one.
Especially one of this magnitude, I would say so. I think it's hard to look at the news and really pinpoint what God's doing. Because unfortunately, I can't see what his master plan is. You know, when I often tell students or kids, I'm like, I can't see the forest through the trees because I'm in it. If I was outside of it, we wouldn't be having this conversation because I probably wouldn't be here. But I can see little things that he's doing in my life and at church.
Okay.
And if I see those things here, kind of like when I go out and do an actual test square for hail on somebody's roof, if you do a little 10 by 10 square and there's enough hits, you can pretty much guarantee the rest of the roof has similar style damage to it. So in this case, since I can look at what happens at youth group and what happens in my own life, and I see God moving there, I guarantee things are moving in the rest of the world. I just might not be able to see them.
Great perspective. So you take what you see in your own world and you just extrapolate out. If that's what God's doing here, I know that's what God is doing everywhere in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great perspective. And I love that analogy.
Thanks.
That 10 by 10 square is like, well, if this is where it is here, it's probably this way everywhere.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thanks, I'm done. Go ahead.
Try to follow that, Kathy.
Well, I think with the Bible, we do have some knowledge of what God is doing in the sense of we know about creation, that the fall, and then Jesus was sent to save us and bring us back in a union with God. And so God wants all men to be saved. And so that's what he's doing at all times. And then we do know in Revelation that we do win, like Jesus wins. And he will be on the throne of thrones, King of kings, and all will bow before him at some point. And so, and it talks a lot about things. There will be rumors, wars, sickness, famine, and we see things happening in our world today. And every day is a day closer to the return of Christ and to salvation. And, well, not salvation, but, to kingdom living permanently, right? For those who believe. So when you see all these awful things, I keep thinking, well, God's working behind the scenes. Some of this stuff has to happen, even though it's horrible at the time. And that's why we have to hold on to our faith. And we have to see things through a kingdom perspective, because it's easy to see, when you see people suffer, your heart hurts for them, no matter what the situation is. But then we have a God that's a God of love and mercy, and a God with the promises that he will be there to comfort and to love us. And those who believe, will have eternal life. So for me, I have to look at things that way and just remember that as bad as it is, God has a plan, and all things will work together for the good for those that love him.
So let's take the horrible events that Andy referenced that we see on the news every single day, right? Because bad news is really the news, right? Mm-hmm. And we get the global bad news pumped right into our living rooms, right into our news feeds, however we consume the news. Kathy, how do I look at all of these painful, terrible, divisive, hateful events transpiring in the world, and be able to look at those things and go, well, Jesus is trying to save everybody. How do I connect the horrible events that I see with a God who says he's working to draw people to himself?
I don't know the full answer to that, but I mean, some of my perspective is that we know what's true about God, that he's loving, he's merciful, and he did send our Jesus, his only begotten Son, as our Savior, right? And so that's his heart. But also that we have free will, and that we have an enemy, that there is a true enemy out there, Satan, and that he has some reign on the world today, and he influences what's happening, and most of it gets blamed on God. But if people looked at it from a kingdom and a spiritual realm, they would understand that we do have a war. It's a war going, a spiritual battle. Ephesians 6, we war not against flesh and blood, but about kingdoms and principalities. So there is a spiritual battle going on. And for sure. I think we have to remember that, because God shouldn't get blamed for all the bad. We have an enemy, that's causing a lot of pain and suffering. And even that can be used for his glory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's such a good perspective. It's a kingdom perspective. Yes. Let's say it that way. God is not responsible for the bad. We learn this from the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. Mm-hmm. God is not responsible for the bad. So often it is the forces of darkness who are so active in our world, Kathy. You're spot on that one. And then just our own bad choices as human beings create a lot of havoc in the world. But that God even uses the bad choices and bad things to draw people to himself. Mm-hmm. So he's in them, not in the sense he caused them, but he's using them to try to redeem humankind. Mm-hmm. And so that's a great way to even look at the news. All this upheaval, God is in it. Didn't cause it, but he's in it, and he's using it to get people to seek after him. Mm-hmm. So how would you answer that opening question? Where is God? What is God doing in the world, Layla?
Well, I agree with what Andy and Kathy shared. To kind of piggyback off of Kathy's statements, I would say that I think with today's generation and technology, there are people who stand up and recognize the good and the bad situations. And there's I don't know what it was like back in your day. How did you hear the news?
Wait.
When the dinosaurs roamed, but
let me recover.
But,
a little boy was on the street with a little paper, and they had to go up and buy it for a nickel.
Around the big old
we had to wait
radio.
for Pony Express to get there before we got any news.
Smoke signals. They're like, oh no, something's bad over there.
But if you think about where we're at today, and just technology is going to continue to go, I think it's important that there's people who stand in their faith and, recognize that God's in every situation, right? It makes me, as Kathy was speaking, it was making me think about, I don't know, when I doom scroll Instagram, because I'm guilty of that so much. But with the latest happenings in Texas with the flash flood and the girls' camp, but I remember coming across something where this gal that I randomly scrolled upon was, basically recognizing that God's still there, right? We're so quick to think the exact opposite. I think it's really important. And there's these people who are basically being the perspective changers, but on social media, right? I don't know how much that's happening on the news per se, but that it's just something I was thinking about.
More and more people get their information via social media or some outlets. Mm-hmm. And isn't it beautiful that in that arena, there are voices that can help turn. That is really a beautiful thing. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's a tough one. I mean, the floods,
I know.
everything that happened in the aftermath, the number of lives, especially young lives that were lost is like, oh my goodness. And it's like, where can God be in that?
Right.
And yet he is in that. He didn't cause that to happen, but he is in those things doing something good. We can have that perspective because we understand God's word and what he says. We trust in God that he is doing all those sorts of things. So sharing that is important. How? Sometimes it's as challenging to see God in our personal lives, as you mentioned, Andy, that you're able to do in yours. It's sometimes harder to see him in that than it is in the global events.
Oh, yeah.
So how can we learn to see God? I think Darren put it in the ordinary, in just the regular events of our lives. How can we become better at seeing God in everything that happens in our own personal experience?
Yeah, I liked his remote analogy when he was like, I don't know if that was for the ordinary one, but when he was talking about when you can't find your remote, like, you can ask God to help you. And I was like, that is definitely not my husband.
Unfortunately, what is the first thing I do? I was like, oh man, did he watch me find or search for my remote? Because those choice words happen more than I would often like to admit. Or just getting irritated that's not there. And I'm like, maybe it is right. Maybe I don't need to watch this right now or something. So.
And I think the power of prayer in that is that our first, people say, I'll just pray. Just praying makes prayer seem minimal, like, an afterthought. Yeah. But the truth is, to Darren's point, if we just stop in any situation and just pray about it or ask God, God, which direction do you want me to go? God, where is my remote? Where, how do I do this? How do I, let me see that person the way you see them when you meet somebody. Because to have, like he said, living with his eyes and living with his perspective, the kingdom perspective, and seeing people as Jesus does, sometimes we do need to pray ahead of time to do that, right? Because we have people in our lives that are challenging, or you meet someone that's so different than you, and it's like, I don't even know how to approach that person. And it's just sort of like, God, help me see them the way you see them. Help me love on them the way you would love them. And I think if we can have a heart like that, like there would be a lot more, changing of lives or helping people feel his love without judgment, or even just helping us to love someone better, even if it's for a moment of a hello or, a fleeting moment in their lives where you don't know the difference you would make by just saying hello and asking someone. There was a man at Sam's the other day, the taste tester. I asked him how he was doing. He said, terrible. And, I said, well, why are you having a terrible day? And he goes on to tell me about some a friendship that's in total friction. And he was just feeling, very upset about it. And, I was encouraging and everything. And then, I told him, have a good day. And then as I was walking away, I just felt the Lord like, you need to go pray for him. I'm like, oh, in Sam's, really? And so I, and then he told me again. And so I'm like, okay, I'll turn around. So I went back and I said, excuse me, would you like to be prayed for today? And he goes, okay, sure, and so I just prayed for him and his heart and his friendship and, things. And we just talked about God for a little bit and how his heart hurts when he hurts. And it was just an amazing, he's like, maybe I need to start going to church. What do you think? I'm like, it's great to have community, just like Darren said, to help us in our stance and our perspective. To keep a godly perspective, we do need our community. We need people loving on us and just seeing each other like Jesus would, And it was a little weird and uncomfortable, of course, but it was such a great thing. And, it's just the simplest thing can make a difference for someone's day.
Oh, what a beautiful story, Kathy. And that someone would feel that would want to share their story with a stranger. Just shows how people are longing to be known and to have somebody hear. And when somebody actually takes the time to care, to listen, to encourage, and then pray, is like, how powerful, who knows what God is going to do with that? That is a beautiful, beautiful story for sure. Layla, how do you learn to see God in your ordinary?
Layla needs to learn this better. Well, one, I loved that picture that Darren showed because I did not see Jesus in it the first time around. And even when he was like, squint your eyes, like it took me a minute. It was so weird how like, I don't know if everybody else saw Jesus right away, but I didn't. But I just think that was so neat. It gave me like goosies because I'm like, oh, he's right there.
He's right there.
Like, how did I not see that?
So cool.
But I think that even, like, that's me. Like, I don't know how to do this well. I think I have to be intentional with it. And I'm also hesitant on, like, praying to God with, like, ordinary things, because I instantly think that I will ask for what I want, not like what I need in that situation, right? Like, it's hard to explain, but I often think I'll tailor my requests to God for selfish reasons, I guess.
Okay.
And not the bigger picture. So I feel very convicted by a lot of what Darren shared today. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go hide. But it's okay because I'm human and I know I can improve on these things. But I also had an interesting situation this week where I had one of those moments where I'm like, man, it'd be nice to, like, I don't know, have money fall out of the sky kind of thing, you know?
It would be nice.
Who does not? Yeah, because it's like I feel like I'm constantly spending money. I got all these kids and they want everything. And then I had a situation at work where I got an increase randomly. Like they did a market equity adjustment.
Yeah,
Nice.
okay.
And I was like wanting to that was my moment where I'm like, I should ask God to, like, bless me. And then in my head, I'm like, Layla, like, you
That's
have more
selfish,
than enough. And then it was like, and then it happened. It was so weird. It was like I was speechless when my boss reached out to me because I was like, I didn't tell her this, and I'm like, I was just thinking, like, oh, a little something, like it would just be nice to have a little something, and just weird. And it's like God was like, you know, like it's like it still was a lesson learned where I could have came to him because he still did it, even though I didn't ask, right? I don't know. It was a really weird situation. So yeah, I just think that this is something that I want to keep in mind. That, like I said, that picture that Darren showed, like that, I don't know, I'll never forget that because I did not see Jesus in the picture. I was so fixated on, are they models? Are they TikTok influencers? Like I was so...
That's why you had to change your lens,
Yeah,
right?
I was thinking about the questions, not about like what the picture was actually showing me. So
it's fascinating what you just shared, and I don't think you're alone. I think there are many Christians who want to honor God that are timid, afraid even sometimes to ask God for something because, man, am I just being selfish?
Yeah, right.
Is this something I want? Yet, look at your own kids. You said there are so many things that my kids want. I wish I had more money to be able. Here you are as a mom, wanting to give your kids things that maybe they don't need.
Absolutely
but
not.
you want them to be happy. You want to bless them. You want to give them stuff. It's like maybe our Heavenly Father feels the same way about us. And He loves it when we just go, hey, God, I would like this. Would you do it? And if it's not good for me, don't do it. But Lord, it would be really cool.
Yeah.
I think God is blessed by that kind of prayer.
Yeah.
Because it shows that we understand, man, your heart is so for me.
Let the children come, Jesus said.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I don't naturally think, I didn't even see that situation that way. I'm immediately like, oh, more, Layla, like you want more, like come on, you know, like I think of that, it's like be grateful for what you have, you know. So
I think the way to, like for me, I could relate to that because I used to feel like that until I had to learn to ask God for everything when I was a single mom, and I just couldn't do it alone anymore.
Yeah.
But I always, you know, I think one of the best verses is when Jesus is praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, you know, and he asks, if you can take this cup away. But not my will, but your will.
Yeah.
And I think whenever we ask, whether it's for a blessing or, you know, to avoid something that we have to walk through that's painful, you know, I now put on the end of many of my prayers, not my will, but thy will be done. Because I might be selfish and not realize it, you know, and it might not be the best thing for me. But the truth is, he has opened up the throne for us to come and ask.
Yeah.
You know, like
right.
the little kids. And I always think I'm God's spoiled little girl. And if I see myself, then it's easier for me to come to him and ask things and not feel bad about it. And then also he's my father and I want him to do what's best for me. And I know he will. So, that can help with that guilt thing. 'Cause I used to really struggle with, asking too much because I also just wanted to be thankful and humble.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, Lord, I need this,
Yeah.
Because you can be thankful and humble and ask boldly for everything all at the same time. They're not like mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
That's just such a beautiful thing. So I don't know about you, each of you, but for me, if I'm not putting on a kingdom lens, like first thing in the morning, then I'm going to struggle with the kingdom lens throughout the course of the day. That's just me. It's like I almost have to clean the glasses of my heart, before I begin my day, or everything is going to get askew.
Yeah.
So I've developed a habit of getting up in the morning and then meeting God first through a really good cup of French press coffee, and then sitting down and opening up his word and just reading it for a while and let him rearrange my thoughts, my head, my perspective. I need that in my life. Kathy, you reinforced what Darren said. We need other people around us that can also help to correct our lens to see things from a kingdom perspective. And so that connection with God, that connection with his people are critical in being able to learn to more consistently see things from God's point of view, to see things from a kingdom perspective. God, what are you doing in the world, and how can I be a part of it? I was fascinated by something else Darren said, that the teacher in me just went, oh, that's gold. And that's when he talked about how the 3 cities, of which Laodicea was one, were all rocked by an earthquake. And it's like Laodicea said, we don't need anybody's help. And then they minted a coin.
Yeah.
We did it.
That
Was like, oh my goodness. And my mind immediately went to that Old Testament passage where God said, be careful, because when I bless you and prosper you in the land, you'll start thinking you did it rather than me blessing you and doing it.
Yeah.
The Laodiceans were so blinded in regards to how they viewed themselves, and they had an inflated view of ourselves. How do we avoid falling into that same trap?
I'm sorry. All I can think of when their name, Leah Deceivings, I'm like, oh, you mean liars deceiving? Yep, I got it. So unfortunately, that's what I started
That's
thinking.
good, though. I like that.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Darren did that with a Greek word today.
Yeah, he did.
All day long.
Yeah,
What was your question again?
How do we avoid falling into that trap? That when things are good, we think, I did this, I've been responsible, I've been hardworking, and we forget that it's all just the blessing of God.
Ooh, yeah. For me, it's when I, staying in his word, just staying with, that's part of the reason I volunteer at youth group, because life can get busy, and Sundays are incredibly busy, but I get to pour into these kids and the kids pour into me. So it's fun thing,
Yeah.
I learn as much from that. It sounds cliche. Every youth leader says it, but you do learn as much from the kids as they learn from you. And if you're not, I think you're doing something wrong. So for me, it's kind of keeping that in, hanging out with various people, open dialogue and text, even my friend groups that aren't quote unquote just Christian people, or they're all about Christians. It's like, I think just keeping in mind that you work hard for these things, and God's given you those certain skills to see those test squares, so to speak.
Yes.
That as long as you're doing that more often than not, when I start drifting away from that and don't focus on youth group or church, or be like, man, it'd be nice if I just took today off and didn't do anything. That's when I start that can then become the next day off and the following day off and this and that. So for me, it's just consistency. You know, working
Consistency.
out, doing stuff like that. If you skip a couple days or take a week off, I feel like, okay, I've just lost 3 months worth is what it feels like.
Yeah.
So,
that is so beautiful. In serving others, it helps to clear your head so you can see yourself in a more accurate way. That is really good. Layla, I know, and we're going to have to wrap things up here fairly soon, but I want to flip that a little bit. You've been really transparent in talking about your own past and your own struggles. And there's a flip side to, I think too highly of myself. And that flip side is, I think too lowly of myself. And don't believe I'm worthy or I'm deserving or that God should really bless my life and do these things for me. How have you learned, Layla, in your experience, to be more objective about your own life in seeing that you are somebody that God longs to bless and you have great value in the world?
I think this is something that I go back and forth with, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It's not like I wake up and feel that way every day, especially if I'm going through a hard time. But like I talked about in last week's post show, my mom just did a really good job in instilling in me that I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
And that, like I was sharing last Sunday, it's something that's just like this undeniable, it's this feeling. It's like, it's just there. That's why I when I was trying to answer last week's question, I didn't have a moment per se where I'm like, I'm a Christ follower. It felt like it's in my DNA, right? Because I'm here because of him. But I definitely have many moments in life where I don't remember that. And I have many control issues and tons of anxiety and worry. And like even though I can say in one sentence, in one breath, I'm a child of God and I'm made for a reason and I'm supposed to be here. When I walk out of this room, I'm going to probably go to my husband and be like, oh, I'm freaking out about something, or I'm worried, or I need to do, so I don't know. It is a balance. I'm pretty sure I make him crack up every day because I am like this little tornado of feelings and emotions, but then there's a little bow on top because I'm like, I'm cute and he loves me. So I don't know. It's really hard to answer that question. I think it's, I have to just take a step back and remember that I'm here for a reason, and I have to like reconnect. It's like I can quickly detach from my from God's power, right, and His Spirit, because I get so consumed.
So easy.
It's like I'm a squirrel, basically, right? And I'm like squirrel, and then I'm like, oh wait, I steered off the path, just mentally, right, just with like simple daily thought processes. So it's like I'm a constant, squirrel. But I come back. I always come back. It might take me seconds. It might take me days. Sometimes I've been on paths, like especially in my younger years, where it took me many days or months to like get back connected with God. But I always come back and I always feel the same feeling and reassurance and love. And I will say for me, kind of like what Andy was talking about with consistency, it's very important that I have church in my weekly walk of life because it fills my tank. Like hearing the messages, I'm not great with always like doing my devotions, and like I like to look at like my Bible app, but I haven't always had the best habits with like setting time aside.
Right.
When I do, I feel the same as you too, where I show up and my heart lenses are clearer too. But yeah, I would say going to church for me is a big one, and it automatically puts me around people who also love Christ, and it's like a domino effect of good things.
It really is, isn't it? Because in that church, we have community around us. We have worship to help us focus. We have His Word to help enlighten. It's like being supercharged with all the things needed to really see things better as we move forward.
Yep.
I thought something you said there was just gold, Layla. You said, when I step back and remember.
Yeah.
And so often I think, it resonates with because like, we need to have this habit of going, just take a step back from your circumstances and remember, what has God said? Who am I? Step back and remember, I have a purpose in this world.
Yep.
And the more we step back and remember, then the more ingrained it becomes in us to just think with a kingdom perspective in the moment.
Yeah.
But you've got to step back and remember millions of times.
Yes, absolutely.
That's because that's
in
how
one
life
day.
works. In one day.
For some.
Excellent. Excellent. Kathy, any final word for us before we wrap things up?
Well, at the end, Darren said, if you have life, you will have problems. I think he
Yes.
said that was a famous quote. My quote of that has always been when I ran youth ministries was, if you breathe, you have ministry. And so God can use you at any point in your life, anytime. If you're alive, you have purpose and you have ministry. And from early on to death point, because people learn from you even as you're passing and, every moment.
Every moment.
If you breathe, you have a ministry.
You have a ministry.
And what I loved about coming to church is we're all gifts in our own way because God made us each unique. And so when you come and you fellowship or run a group or get involved with all the different ministries, you're sharing the gift that God made you.
Yeah,
which
that's right.
just always blesses others.
Always.
I love hearing from you. You're a gift, each one of us are a gift because people relate to us differently.
Yes.
And, if we didn't have Dave, and we're also unique personalities, and yet we speak to different people and, you know what I mean, in a unique way.
Exactly, we do. It's exactly, which is why God has all of us communicating, because we're going to say and do things in ways that are going to resonate with people that no one else could resonate with them that way. That's why we're all needed and we're all so important. What a great final word to kind of wrap things up with. So know that God is in your ordinary and that he wants you to know him. He wants you to feel his love and experience his love, and he wants to bless your life. So it's our prayer here at Connections that you just be filled with the love of God and that you experience all the good things he has for you every day of your life. Thank you for joining us today. We'll look forward to seeing you back here next Sunday.